So he leaves his toughest question for the end, and he's pretty blunt. And he tries to put Putin on the spot. And Putin dodges a few times, but I think Tucker comes back at him 4 times. I think it was actually Tucker's most, repeated line of questioning. I would just go to the main video, open it up, and then go to the end and just sort of manually find it. Yeah, so I would start around there and just open it up. Here, let's see if we can find it together. Go ahead and make that full screen. Put the audio up. If you're having trouble on Twitter, you could even do it on his webpage, tuckercarlson.com. Okay, go ahead and pump up the volume.
Nature, the more difficult it becomes to resolve them. Everything has to be done in calm manner.
I wonder if that's true with the war, though. Also, I mean, I want to ask one more question, which is, and maybe you don't want to say so for strategic reasons, but are you worried that what's happening in Ukraine could lead to something much larger?
Let me give you a minute to find it and come back when you found it. He presses Putin on the release of an American journalist, 32-year-old man from the Wall Street Journal, charged with espionage. And Putin comes back and says, well, he was charged with espionage. And Tucker says, look, he's a 32-year-old kid. Now, let's be honest, 32 years old is not a kid. And you can certainly be a spy if you're 32 years old. But he comes back again and again and again. And he says, I want to leave here with this journalist. Will you let him leave with me? And Putin says, we've done so many decent things already, so many gestures of goodwill were empty. But Tucker doesn't leave it alone. He comes back again and again. And actually, one of the last words Putin has on the matter, and seriously, they go back and forth about 4 times, is, well, I'm sure he belongs back in his homeland. And I got to tell you, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if this 32-year-old prisoner is released in the days ahead. I think Putin just didn't want to do this on live, or not live, in a live interview. I don't think he makes decisions that way. I don't think he respects journalists or fears journalists enough to be commanded by them to do anything like that. But I think he actually will release this journalist for his own credit, but also to help Tucker Carlson, who's given Putin an enormously large audience, because it's the largest audience that Tucker's ever had, but it's the largest audience that Putin's ever had. Looks like you found it. Go ahead, play the clip.
I just got to ask you one last question, and that's about someone who's very famous in the United States, probably not here, Evan Gershkovich, who's the Wall Street Journal reporter. He's 32, and he's been in prison for almost a year. This is a huge story in the United States, and I just want to ask you directly, without getting into the details of it or your version of what happened, if as a sign of your decency, you would be willing to release him to us and we'll bring him back to the United States.
Мы столько сделали жестов доброй воли, что, мне кажется, мы исчерпали все лимиты.
We have done so many gestures of goodwill out of decency that I think we have run out of them.
Ни разу не ответил.
We have never seen anyone reciprocate to us in a similar manner. However, in theory, we can say that we do not rule out that we can do that if our partners take reciprocal steps. When I talk about the partners, I first of all refer to special services. Special services are in contact with one another. They are talking about the matter in question.
не решить эту
There is no
проблему.
taboo to settle this
Мы
issue.
готовы ее решать.
We are willing to solve
Там
it.
есть определенные условия, которые
But there are certain terms being discussed via
обсуждаются
special services
по
channels.
партнерским каналам между спецслужбами. Мы
I
это
believe an
можем
agreement can be reached.
Да.
So typically, I mean, this stuff has happened for obviously centuries. One country catches another spy within its borders, it trades it for one of its own intel guys in another country. I think what makes, and it's not my business, but what makes this different is the guy's obviously not a spy, he's a kid. And maybe he was breaking your law in some way, but he's not a super spy, and everybody knows that. And he's being held hostage in exchange, which is true. With respect, it's true, and everyone knows it's true. So maybe he's in a different category. Maybe it's not fair to ask for, somebody else in exchange for letting him out. Maybe it degrades Russia to do that.
Вы знаете, можно как угодно говорить, что такое шпион, что не шпион.
You know,
Но
you
есть
can give different
определенные
interpretations to
вещи,
what
предусмотренные
constitutes a
законом. Если
spy,
человек получает секретную
but there are
информацию,
certain things provided by law. If person gets secret
конспиративной
information
основе,
and does that
это
in
называется
conspiratorial manner,
он
then this is qualified as
он получил
espionage.
закрытую секретную
And that is
информацию.
exactly what he was
Причем
doing.
конспиративную.
He was receiving classified, confidential information, and he did it covertly. Maybe he did that out of carelessness or his own initiative. Considering the sheer fact, this is qualified as espionage. The fact has been proven, as he was caught red-handed when he was receiving this information. If it had been some far-fetched excuse, some fabrication, something not proven, it would have been a different story then. But he was caught red-handed when he was secretly getting confidential information. What is it then?
But are you suggesting that he was working for the US government or NATO, or he was just a reporter who was given material he wasn't supposed to have? Those seem like very different things.
Я не знаю, на кого он работал. Но повторяю еще раз.
I don't know who he was working for, but I would like to reiterate that getting classified information in secret is called espionage, and he was working for the US Special Services, some other agencies. I don't think he was working for Monaco, as Monaco is hardly interested in getting that information. It is up to special services to come to an agreement. Some groundwork has been laid. There are people who, in our view, are not connected with special services. Let me tell you a story about a person serving a sentence.
Anyways, it goes on. Do you see how long he's going on about this? I think it was the longest, and that's not even the full clip. That was just a little clip we found online. Tucker Carlson's like a dog with a bone. And I actually think that Putin's going to give that 32 and by the way, 32 years old is not a kid. And journalists often are spies, and because they have access and because asking questions is their job and getting tips is their job. I don't know if this guy's a spy. How would I know? But it's notable that Tucker Carlson was so energetic about it. And I'm sure that man's family is grateful to him, and if he's released, he'll be grateful to him. And I put it to you that probably most corporate media reporters wouldn't ask that question of Putin, and if they did, they certainly wouldn't come back at it again and again and again. The way, in fact, that could have gone on for 5 more minutes, but that was just a short extract, so we'll wrap that up there. But again, Putin answers in different ways, doesn't he? I don't think that Putin would ever answer a question based on feeling pressure from a reporter, because I just don't think in Putin's world, reporters are centers of power. He's not worried about what the front page of Izvestia is going to say tomorrow in the same way that Trudeau might be worried about what the front page of the Globe and Mail is going to say tomorrow. So I just don't think that Putin responds in the same way. And I don't know, I thought he probably thought that was boring and playful, if anything.